and welcome to the Bruce channel. I'm Bruce and I'm glad that you're here. As has been kind of normal the last couple of weeks, we've got a lot of things to talk about. And we'll start with this. It's not an uncommon question, or at least wondered frequently by some men. Does she love me, or does she love me for my money? Well, I saw this. I have to show you. It's captioned, "When you're broke, but she believes in your dreams." It's cute, isn't it? For what it's worth, I've never had to wonder. My wallet has never caused me that kind of concern. There's no need to speculate. There's no insecurity. You know, sometimes I dream. Anyway, it has been a pretty good week for me. As it now stands, I am planning on having our new weekly show up next week, as we have been. But if I miss my target, it's because of some outside forces. In April, I told you a trip my dad and I made to the practice round for the Masters. Well, this week I will be returning to Augusta, the city, not the club. For the first time in 29 years, we'll be shooting, no, I'll be there for the first time in 29 years because we'll be shooting a picture called Tom's Missed Call. It's about a mysterious voicemail on Tom's cell phone. And it's a little bit muffled. And I'm also pretty excited about some upcoming opportunities, including some series work. One can hope, you know. So, as I said, it's been a pretty good week. And seriously, if you live next door to Steven Spielberg, or if you know Steven Spielberg's cleaning lady, pass the word along. I'd appreciate it. Oh, and yes, like and share, because you never know. Someone you know may know someone who knows someone who knows Steven Spielberg. Or his cleaning lady. All right, some interesting developments to be sure regarding glyphosate. And that's the ingredient named a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization. It's the active agent in Roundup and other herbicides. And countries are paying heed. In Argentina, a group of scientists wrote to support the WHO action, but they criticized it a little bit. You know what the criticism was? They asked, what took so long? The international scientific community has been saying this for years. Also in the wake of the WHO's report, Bermuda wasted little time. They have suspended all importation of Roundup and all other herbicides with glyphosate. And in Colombia, what are we doing this alphabetically? All right, Colombian President Juan Santos has said, they'll need to find other ways to take out the cocoa plantations. So watch, Monsanto will now fire back that, well, banning Roundup will help drug kingpins. Whatever. All right, in Europe, Baumarkt is a huge do-it-yourself chain. I mean huge. How huge? Across Europe they have 15,000 stores. By way of comparison, Home Depot and Lowe's combined have a little over 4,100. Worldwide. And guess what Baumarkt announced? Products with glyphosate will be off their shelves by the end of September. All right, moving to Hungary. Hungary proposed that European Union nations be allowed to ban GMO crops rather, and Russia. Russia, for crying out loud. You know, Russia, whom we've helped from time to time because they haven't always been able to produce enough food. Russia announced that they will no longer import any GMO products. Prime Minister Medvedev, I think I said that right, said, if the Americans like to eat GMO products, let them eat them. We don't need to do that. We have enough space and opportunities to produce organic food. Da, Nyet. Finally, back here in the United States to complete our alphabetical world tour. The Chipotle, you may have heard this, the Chipotle restaurant chain has announced they're doing away with GMOs. Now, events like these have not gone unnoticed in the financial world. And, you know, in the financial world, it always comes down to what Mr. Gooding said in Jerry Maguire, show me the money. That's what matters. So, Moody's downgraded Monsanto's outlook from stable to negative. The best news we have here, though, this is big, it just happened this week. The USDA will be putting in place a program that will allow companies to seek USDA certification that they're GMO-free. Now, heretofore, a company could call its products GMO-free, but there was no way to back it up, and companies can still do that, but they won't be able to use the seal or claim USDA process verified. That's good news. All right, if you're new to this, a quick primer on the symbiosis of GMOs and glyphosate. Monsanto invented glyphosate. Glyphosate kills plants. Farmers want to kill weeds, so they sprayed them with glyphosate. But Monsanto also sells seeds, genetically modified seeds, seeds that grow into crops that glyphosate doesn't kill, so the farmers spray everything. The crops don't die, but they take in the glyphosate and then we eat it. So if eating GMO foods doesn't bother you, okay. And if it's not a glyphosate resistant, maybe that's okay. If you don't want your apples to brown, I understand they make something like that, fine, that's up to you. Nevertheless, Kansas Congressman Pompeo continues to justify, in the face of increasing evidence, his bill that would prevent a state or community from mandating GMO labeling. In a word, that's unconscionable. And what you eat or drink is up to you, as I said. But you might want to consider this. There was a family in Sweden changed to an organic diet. In just 2 weeks, pesticides in their urine nearly vanished. And it really is true. We are remarkable organisms. We take sunshine, literally. You know, that's the source of all energy. And we convert it into music and poetry and rocket ships and iPads and all manner of things. Some good, others not so much. We can poison ourselves for a long time without even knowing it. Tobacco products were once promoted by doctors. But we learn. But when we're lied to, yeah, evidence has come up that Monsanto has long known of glyphosate's risk. When we're lied to, whether it's by companies or politicians, we need to fight back as if our lives depend on it, or our children's lives, because they do. You know, I saw this, and it really says it all. There's no such thing as junk food. There's food, and there's junk. I'll encourage you again to visit justlabelit.org and learn more. I'd like to recommend to you a book I've been reading. It's called The Innovators, How a Group of Hackers, Geniuses, and Geeks Created the Digital Revolution by Walter Isaacson. His book, Steve Jobs, came out in 2011. I read that and I enjoyed it. And in The Innovators, in the preface, Mr. Isaacson says that it was during the conversations with Steve Jobs that he learned of some of these innovators and geeks and nerds whose contributions really aren't known to many outside of the engineering and or computing world. And it's true. You know, I knew of Alan Turing before I saw The Imitation Game, but by the way, that's a terrific movie if you haven't seen it. I could sort of state Moore's Law, probably more paraphrase it than state it, but I'm not sure I could have told you the name Gordon Moore. I did once see Grace Hopper on Johnny Carson. It was amazing how lucidly she described a nanosecond. Well, their stories and many other stories are told in this book. I've not been disappointed. It's a fun read. I like Walter Isaacson's writing. Well, probably look into some of his other biographies. He's also written, as mentioned, Steve Jobs, but also Henry Kissinger, Benjamin Franklin, and Albert Einstein. Remember, you can write to us at thebrucechannel@yahoo.com, and you can view all our previous episodes at tinyurl.com/brucechannel or at The Bruce Channel's Facebook page. So, when the Ohio State Buckeyes won the Division I football championship earlier this year, I was pleased. Had they lost to Oregon, people from Oregon would have been pleased. Now, I had no effect on the game. Nada. Zilch. I contributed nothing to the victory. I was nevertheless pleased. Living in North Carolina, Duke won the Hoops crown. It made me happy, and had UNC won, I'd have been pleased. Sure, that's what we do. We take some ownership when our guys do well. When I found a web page, a little unusual, but I don't know, is anything on the web unusual? At any rate, someone collected a bunch of data. And each state has more of something than any other state per capita. Some of them are pretty cool. Vermont, for example, has more craft beer production per capita than any other. I think that's cool. Per capita, more people in Illinois tip. That's the sound of waiters and waitresses, bellhops and like that, moving to Illinois. Michigan has the most engineers, all good things. Some states lead in innocuous categories. There are more UFO sightings in Arizona than anywhere else per capita, while Iowa leads in lost chickens. I'm sorry, how did they figure that out? Is there an official record created when people call the police and say, my chicken Margaret is missing, it's been 2 days? Or do they have milk cartons with pictures of lost chickens on them? Oh, and just to the north, Minnesota has the most turkeys. Okay, most states, however, actually the categories most states lead in are lamentable. Montana, per capita, has the most poorly paid first-year teachers. New Mexico has the most mental illness. Alabama tweeters post the most racist tweets. South Carolina wins the bad drivers category, while North Carolina has the most snake bites. Not surprising, Florida has the most shark bites. But there were some surprises. The political blue state of Oregon has the highest incidence of minors buying cigarettes. But solidly conservative Kansas has the most web page views of, wait for it, pornography. Congressman Ron Pompeo, he's from just saying. Oklahoma leads in executions, and if you might have thought that belonged to Texas, remember it's per capita. But Texas leads in a category you couldn't guess if I gave you 18 to life. Pet tigers. And I'm not sure how that's different from Georgia, which has the most panda bears per capita. Not pet panda bears like Texas pet tigers, but just panda bears. Anyway, you can find this and a whole lot more at distractify.com. My neighbor used to have chickens and a turkey. We're not even in Minnesota. Anyway, he used to have chickens and then he didn't have chickens. And he used to have goats and now he doesn't have goats, now he has sheep. And now again he has chickens. And every time there's been chickens, there's been a rooster or two or three. Okay, all the roosters in the past crowed, not only at dawn, and they all sounded pretty much the same. Just like the classic rooster cock-a-doodle-doo. I was doing some work outside last week, and the rooster was nearby, and I crowed many, many times, and I noticed that this rooster's crow was unique. It actually sounded almost like it was speaking English. It's always the same, and well, not good English, but maybe English with an accent. So it just, I listened, and this is what I heard. I recorded it for you to see what you hear. I'll let you hear it again. And again. Okay, last one. This is... That's what I heard. You think the rooster knows about the Kansas congressman? Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. Or wait, I can let others do it.
The moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. That's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine. That's amore.
Okay, we all know that song, but a friend posted a picture and it had a bit of a twist, and that then spawned many more posts underneath it, some of which were cute, and I thought I might share with you. When you're down by the sea and an eel bites your knee, that's amore. Put your hand in a crack if you don't get it back, that's amore. When an eel lunges out and it bites off your snout, that's amore. When the pain in your ass feels like big shards of glass, that's amore. So I was talking with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about several things, including this show. And I told him that I have a story that I've had for a while, but because it isn't time perishable, it keeps getting pushed back. New things keep popping up and taking precedence. And his reply was, no, as long as there are people doing stupid things, you'll never run out of things to talk about. And so it is again. So my backburner story will have to wait yet again because of another stupid thing. And actually, this didn't just happen. The consequences just happen, and I guess we can put a period to it. Of course, I mentioned in our last show that the NFL's report on Deflategate came out, and that it said quarterback Tom Brady probably knew that the 11 out of 12 footballs were under the minimum limit of 12.5 pounds per square inch. What's happened since? The NFL has suspended Brady for 4 games without pay. He is appealing, and you know all of that. I'm not going to detail all of that. But 2 points. I saw a clip where Heath Evans, who played on the Patriots with Tom Brady, and he said he couldn't believe it, and he was sincere. He also expressed an acknowledgement of his potential bias. But one of the things that makes him feel it couldn't happen is how Coach Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are. Apparently they are maniacally attentive to detail. And because of that, he said if Brady wanted the ball softer, he'd have determined exactly the pressure, and each of them would have been exactly that. But the officials found that those 11 out of 12 balls that were underinflated were not all the same. But, you know, Evans' argument sort of makes sense, but imagine the circumstances. The balls are inflated to the legal pressure tested by the game officials. Then the equipment guys for each team take them in a bag to the field. Security video shows he went to a restroom. And he said to use a urinal, but there's no urinal in that restroom. Anyway, he's in there for, a while. He's got the balls in a bag, and he's got all he's got time for. Take out a ball, push in the pin, squeeze it, let it get a little softer, pull out the pin, grab the next ball. He's got to do that for 11. Absolutely, there is not enough time to take the great pains that Heath Evans' exacting scenario would require. And one last idea about this, one I've not seen anywhere else. The rule itself is stupid. They broke it. I'm not saying they shouldn't take the rap, but the rule is unnecessary. If I like mine 12.5 and you like yours 13 and he likes his 11, so what? What difference does it make? If I grip it better, the league is offense happy anyway. There could be a rule on the absolute firmness because that can affect kicking. But softness, it's self-limiting. If it were too soft to hold its shape, that wouldn't work. In golf, a golfer chooses his clubs. In baseball, a fielder chooses his glove and bat. There are broad specifications, but for a ball carrier, a quarterback, or receiver, so what if there's a wide latitude? It simply makes them perform as well as they can, and the league is offense happy. Again, except for kicking. The officials could keep a couple of balls separated, exactly the specified PSI for kickers. Okay, that's my last word on it. But apparently not the last word. Anyway, I hope your upcoming week is the best one you've ever had.